For months, we said Israel's blockade is going to lead to a famine. There is a percentage of the population of Palestinians that...
No, that's not what you said for months. You said they were starving and starving and starving and starving and starving and starving and starving. That's what you said.
They're not even people in the eyes of Israelis. 2 million. They're dying of mass starvation.
They're dying of mass starvation.
Will Israel take control of all of Gaza?
We intend to, in order to assure our security, remove Hamas there, enable the population to be free of Gaza, and to pass it to civilian governance. That is...
That's a brutal misspeak.
It's not Hamas.
We want to free them of Gaza. True.
And not anyone advocating the destruction of Israel. That's what we want to do.
Oh, fuck. I shouldn't have watched this. I should just watch Hasan's reaction to it. Oh, God.
King news. Benjamin Netanyahu.
Free of Gaza, and to pass it to civilian governance.
Brother, oh my Lord. This is illegal, by the way, under international law. Everything Israel does is illegal. Israel is an illegal entity. Israel, in the way that it currently exists and has expanded so consistently, has violated numerous international laws. It does not matter. International law only matters as far as someone, as far as there is, people who are willing to entertain international law, to regulate it.
International law only matters when everybody is playing by international law. If only one side is going to be enforced, then nobody's going to listen to it. Remember, I've said this a million times. I don't even know if Hasan knows the bad shit that Netanyahu is saying. A lot of this interview with Netanyahu was undermining the establishment of a unified Palestinian government. That's the insidious stuff that's happening here. But he's probably just going to focus on like lay epic genocide or whatever. International humanitarian law seeks to balance two different things, two objectives: the protection of populations that are not parties to combat, civilian populations, and a nation's ability to conduct war. Both of those things are equally important. If either gets out of balance or if only one side is forced to adhere to it, then it completely crumbles and falls apart.
International law is inconsequential. In the simplest terms, whatever America says goes. If America doesn't think what Israel is doing is bad, then it doesn't matter. Israel can do whatever it wants to. Yes, he wants the population to be free of Gaza. That's what it was a Freudian slip, but it's more honest than anything else he said.
Are you saying today that you will take control of the entire 26-mile Gaza Strip, as it was 20 years ago to this month in 2005?
Well, we don't want to keep it. We want to have a security perimeter. We don't want to govern it. We don't want to be there as a governing body. We want to hand it over to Arab forces that will govern it properly without threatening us and giving Gazans a good life. The Hamas are policy that themselves are trying to put into being, and we're doing everything to reverse that.
Also, here's another incredible moment. Via Amit Segal, the Trump administration is considering granting U.S. citizenship to 20 living hostages in Gaza to increase the chances of their release. This motherfucker will do anything but put an end to the genocide, bro. I swear to God. Like, this is the type of shit that's really going to piss off his base. Like, who is this for, man? Take Israel's out of your mouth for...
This is, it's just unhinged, bro. Oh my God, dude. Everybody around the world loves dead Palestinians. It's just so good for them. If you're an Israeli actual genocidal freak, it makes you feel good. If you're Hasan, you love it because it gives you more shit to talk about. If you're in the international community, it gives you more rage bait. Like Hamas releasing all the hostages, I feel like that would undermine Israel's domestic support for the war in Gaza. It's a feeling I have. I could be wrong, but it takes a really big thing off the table. Or if Hamas was willing to say, hey, we'll give all the hostages back, although Hamas has to agree also not to govern. But that's also fair, bro. It's Hamas, they're crazy. But I feel like I think the Israeli military would lose a lot of moral authority in the conduct in the Gaza Strip. But I mean, as long as they still have it, they can keep pointing to that hostage.
1 second and try to think. Like, this is crazy. I'm not a firm and committed believer in the whole, like, Benjamin Netanyahu is compromise on Donald Trump, that Mossad has, like, a compromising footage of Donald Trump. But every single day, he behaves like a man who's caught children, in the archives of, like, Unit 8200's basement or something.
No, he's just a boomer that has an undying and unwavering love and support for Israel and hates Arabs. He's a New York City real estate guy. What, do you think this guy has love for Muslims or Palestinians, for Arabs? Come on, what? What? Like, you don't need compromat to explain Trump's undying support for Netanyahu.
Other day, he behaves as though there is just photographic evidence of his philia or something. I don't understand what this is. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I know people will clip this and be like, Hasan doesn't want the hostages to be released. It's like, dude, there is a solution to releasing the hostages. It's called ending the genocide. What the is happening, man? I tried to mention this yesterday, but we'll see how successful they are in their attempt to occupy all of Gaza when they are being forced to make reserve battalions with soldiers up to 50 years old due to lack of manpower. I know. They can't do that without, like, forcibly conscripting the Haredi population, which will cause tremendous internal strife in Israel, in Israeli politics, because the Orthodox will say, no. There's just no way that Israel could just, like, maintain a permanent occupation of the Gaza Strip. I mean, it's tiny. The Gaza Strip is a tiny sliver of land, so I guess it's not as difficult.
Careful. I thought we agreed that it was an occupation the entire time. Now you're saying that they couldn't have an occupation there? Or you're saying the occupation would be meaningfully different? Or what?
Difficult as like Russia permanently occupying the entirety of Ukraine or even the eastern Ukrainian territories.
Wait, what?
Could just like maintain a permanent occupation of the Gaza Strip. I mean, it's tiny. The Gaza Strip is a tiny sliver of land. So I guess it's not as difficult as like Russia permanently occupying the entirety of Ukraine or even the eastern Ukrainian territories for a decent number of years.
Also, I'm trying to think. I don't know the answer to this question. I should know the answer to this question. I know that there were a lot of Jews that lived in Gaza prior to 2005, but Israel didn't govern the Gaza Strip, did they? It was governed by the PLO, right? Am I making that up? Who was the government? Who was the government of the actual governing body in the Gaza Strip prior to 2005, prior to the disengagement? Like in Oslo 1 and Oslo 2. Like I know about like Hebron and all that bullshit that they do in the West Bank, but I don't feel like I have nothing in my brain about who governed the Gaza Strip. I'm not sure.
Years, but even then, they just can't do that without full ethnic cleansing, which is why I think they are trying to do full ethnic cleansing. Like
it might have been the Palestinian Authority everywhere else. Okay, and then martial law in the Israeli settlements. Okay, so similar-ish to the West Bank.
They will try to turn the Gaza Strip into a West Bank-style structure with a civil governance division that is tied to Israel in the same way that the Palestinian West Bank-style structure. I think they are trying to do full ethnic cleansing. Like at most, they will try to turn the Gaza Strip into a West Bank-style structure with a civil governance division that is tied to Israel in the same way that the Palestinian Authority is. And
so everybody hates the Palestinian Authority. So Hasan undermines it as well. Yeah, they're bro. No one gives a fuck. Who, dude? If you're a Palestinian, I guess fuck you. Yeah.
And then continue whatever they're doing in the West Bank in Gaza.
Governance division. This is what I mean. This is the from the ultra pro Palestinian side. They undermine the PA because they think they're just basically a security subcontractor for Israel. Yeah.
Gaza, which is pogroms, more land acquisition, and the inevitable expulsion of every single person. Do you think they're also doing this to hide the actual death toll once this genocide is over? Yes. That is the major reason.
I like how they say the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, has been under military occupation by Israel since June 7th, 1967, when Israeli forces captured the territory, then ruled by Jordan. Shouldn't that say occupied by Jordan? But, okay.
Inevitable expulsion of every single person. Do you think they're also doing this to hide the actual death toll once this genocide is over? Yes. That is the major reason. As I said time and time again, Israel cannot do a permanent ceasefire because once the dust settles and there are, inevitably, there are going to be Western forces that intervene. There's going to be Western journalists that go in. There's going to be Western investigators that go in. And when the dust settles and they see the true magnitude of this genocide, it's over.
Why did you peddle shit about moving Gazans out and talk about other Arab countries taking them in? Don't you think that's irresponsible advocating for ethnic cleansing? Based. You have a huge brain.
And also the reason you...
Every single day there are starving Palestinian children who love you and they appreciate your advocacy. Keep it up.
That go in, and when the dust settles and they see the true magnitude of this genocide, it's over.
And also the reason you see the flattened buildings is because Hamas booby traps every single building. So when we come in, we first have the population moved, even though Hamas tries to keep them in the combat zones. But after they move, and we start to move into the neighborhoods that are now populated only by terrorists, they ignite these booby traps. So what we do is we put in an APC, an armored personnel carrier, with a lot of explosives, detonate it. It sets off all the booby traps, and the buildings begin to collapse as a result of that. They're empty buildings. They're not populated buildings. Secondly, they built this underground terror tunnel network with billions of dollars that they had. They didn't build Gaza up.
Liar. Who believes these lies? Lies.
They built a Gaza terror city underground. So we now detonate
liars.
The tunnels.
Can Fox not fact check any of this? Bro, CNN doesn't even fact check this. Why would Fox? Like, every single thing he's saying is insane and completely wrong. Is there a tunnel system under Gaza? Absolutely. Except, once again, you don't have any right to keep killing Gazans. Like, what the do you mean?
Yeah, okay. So maybe the city of Zion, maybe there are hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of tunnel underneath, okay, the Gaza Strip, sure, maybe.
Oh, there's a terror system. There's a terror tunnel system underneath. Okay, you have one too. The do you mean? Do we just nuke?
Yeah, true. Well, they did the thing in Brooklyn, right?
Tel Aviv then? What are you talking about?
You deny this charge of genocide.
Totally.
That's what you're saying.
Totally.
But last week, and you referred to it a few moments ago, President Trump mentioned the word starvation. And he pretty much said it is what it is.
I thought you weren't supposed to call them Gazans. Oh, did he do that? Uh-oh.
From his observation, looking at video and pictures. Were you surprised by that?
No, look, I think President Trump has been terrific. He's supporting us in so many ways. And he understands that we have to get rid of Hamas. He understands that Hamas is also using their own interdiction tactics to prevent humanitarian aid going. So there's been shortages, no question about that. There's been also suffering. And what I intend to do with President Trump, we talked about that and agreed upon that, is to overcome this.
Surprised he didn't put up the article about the IDF and the UN's thing. But
with a humanitarian surge. So we're opening up safe routes through which aid trucks can go through. We're going to try to quadruple the distribution points that are manned by Americans And they're doing a hell of a job distributing food to Gazans without Hamas taking over the food. And that's really what we're doing. And airdrops that we intend to do, we're already doing. And we invite other countries to join us. So it's...
I guess it's important to see how he's lying. I don't even know how to I don't know where to begin.
I feel like this would have been the Haaretz article that his editor should have shown. IDF officials say no evidence that Hamas systematically stole UN aid in Gaza, the New York Times reports. I'm surprised this wasn't the article that he tried to show over that, but okay.
Airdrops are not a sustainable way to deliver aid, okay? The international humanitarian organizations have all criticized the aid drops as the only aid delivery mechanism. As I already explained, there are 400 aid distribution sites inside of the Gaza Strip that were operated by the United Nations. There are thousands of trucks lined up outside of the Gaza Strip, filled to the brim with aid, waiting to be delivered. Israel is refusing to deliver this aid. They're just sending moldy bread and crumbs of food so that the international community can do a PR initiative and to allow Israel to continue its starvation, allow Israel to continue its genocide. The idea that they are going to permanently occupy the Gaza Strip militarily is, and openly admitting to that, is just an active recognition of the final solution. There is no permanent military occupation of the Gaza Strip by the Israeli state. This would be tremendously bloody for all of the Israeli military. They have to do this after genociding the entire Palestinian population. There's no other way that they can do this. And I suspect, and I mean, it's not even a suspicion at this point. It just, we're seeing it unfold in broad daylight. They are trying to ethnically cleanse the entirety of the Strip. They are trying to play this song and dance in an effort to not have like Western leadership basically say, we're going to invade Israel militarily. What the are you doing?
No one is invading. Bro, if the surrounding Arab states don't even give a fuck about invading Israel, why the fuck do you think any Western country is going to go and invade Israel? What?
President Trump given the green light for your plan to take over the remaining 25% of Gaza and occupy all of it?
Well, he understands that it's Israel who's going to do the fighting. It's not American soldiers.
Did he give you a yes?
Well, he just says, I know Israel will do what it has to do, and we haven't gotten into that kind of discussion.
You know what's funny? You know what I just realized? Didn't Hasan joke about me agreeing a lot with Nazis or something when he was talking about my CNN thing? When him and Charlie Kirk debate, it's been a long time since they debated last. If Charlie Kirk is smart, Charlie Kirk and Hasan are going to have a huge overlap on a lot of different things. I wonder how that debate's going to go.
But we have gotten into a discussion on two things. One,
believe it or not, the Trump admin plans to further increase the reality distortion.
Charlie will support Israel, though. Charlie Kirk will certainly support Israel, but he'll definitely be in favor of not having the United States being involved directly and that there should be no U.S. intervention. He might be against the bombing of the Iranian reactors. Maybe. I'm sure he supported it on Twitter, though, because Trump did it. But I feel like because they're both like hyper-populist, authoritarian types who have a disdain for liberal democracy. They're going to have a lot of stuff they could agree on. It's going to depend on how, I guess, Charlie decides to navigate that convo.
Field. The Trump admin plans to dramatically cut criticism of human rights abuses in Russia, Israel, and El Salvador in the upcoming State Department reports. The Post compared drafts to past reports. What I actually fear is maybe it's not over after the dust settles. What I actually fear is that like Western journalists go in, they cover it. All of these like humanitarian rights organizations go in and they cover the full magnitude, the full scale of the atrocities. The media still tries to do a pressure campaign, a censorship campaign, and people still go along with that same now even more expanded permission structure for Israel. That is what I'm actually worried about. But I know that in his calculation, Benjamin Netanyahu worries that when they see the true magnitude, it will be undeniable that Israel has committed a genocide. And at that stage, I think the global community will take action against Israel. That is what he fears.
Let Gaza be governed by a civilian authority that is not Israel.
I don't even know how much Netanyahu gives a fuck about, because the global community, you guys have pushed it so far. I don't even know if he gives a fuck anymore. My guess is his biggest concern is domestic support, and then the support of the countries around him are going to be the most important thing for Israel. Because you guys have been just screeching genocide for 2 years. Like, doesn't matter.
Because I don't want to occupy Gaza forever. I don't want to govern Gaza. I want to have a different governance there that basically is willing to live in peace with Israel and give Gazans a different future. That's entirely different.
Thank you, says Palestinian prisoners.
Like, how interesting is it? I understand nobody gives a fuck about this. We'll get off this in a second. I'm sorry. How interesting is it that Hasan hates the idea of the Palestinian Authority being in charge of the West Bank or the Gaza Strip because they're just an Israeli sub-government division or whatever? But Netanyahu doesn't want the Palestinian Authority to be in charge of the Gaza Strip either. Interesting how they both seem to hate them.
They should be shot and starved. I guess I just think that Israel's national security minister...
Entirely different.
Thank you, says Palestinian prisoners should be shot and starved. I guess I just think that Israel's national security minister bragging about starving Palestinian prisoners and putting a bullet in their head should have made the news. I'm surprised that I've had dealt with questions if the Palestinian prisoners have a fruit basket or not. And I say Palestinian prisoners must be killed, shot in the head. The law of executing prisoners will be passed on the third reading in the Knesset, and the law will mean we will give them a little to live on and nothing more.
I never trust these translations anymore. But this guy is unhinged and insane. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he said this. So that's what it is.
I mean, yeah, he also celebrated recently saying like they come in fat and leave thin when talking about starving prisoners. How many people in the West know that Israel's blocked the Red Cross from visiting Palestinian prisoners since October 7? Literally today, the state is in court seeking its 20th delay, citing national security. I'm telling you, it's the worst double standard there is. Anything Israel has ever claimed about Hamas, they have done a million times worse. The only reason why Israel can continue this propaganda initiative also is because of pure racism through and through. Because Palestinians do live there. And they have communicated their own demise. They show it with the limited amount of internet that they have. They literally film this and go, this is what they're doing to us. But because we are an incredibly racist Western civilization society, we don't even listen to them. At least you do. Many of you in here do that. And that's the reason why you're 3, 4, sometimes 5 months ahead of where mainstream discourse is going. Because for mainstream press in the Western world, it's only newsworthy when it's far too late to do anything about it. Only then do they ever cover the events that are unfolding.
Like it's just such a naive and childish political analysis. Like if that was the case, then why aren't we ardently defending Ukraine? Because Ukrainians are getting by Russians for, a year plus, and we don't seem to be giving about that. If it's just about racism, if it's just about 3 years. Wait, was 2022? 2023? 2022, right? 3.5 years, not a year. 3.5 years.
There is perhaps no better representation of this than the famine stuff that's going on right now. The famine discourse is going on. Famine doesn't happen overnight. There are food stockpiles that need to diminish, that need to deplete. So for months, we said Israel's blockade is going to lead to a famine. There is a percentage of the population of Palestinians that...
No, that's not what you said for months. You said they were starving and starving and starving and starving and starving and starving and starving. That's what you said.
...are actively speaking out and actively talking about massive inflation in the marketplaces and how little food they have in the Strip, that famine is imminent, famine is imminent, famine is imminent. It took hundreds of starving children to die and be photographed for people to finally go, okay, I guess famine did happen. How did this happen though? We don't know. What do you mean we don't know? You don't listen to the Israelis that are saying famine is happening and we like it. You don't listen to the Palestinians that are saying...
Why would you listen to any Israelis? I thought they were all inbred, crazy, genocidal freaks that all need to be killed like the settler babies they are, right? Like he just undermines his own message so much.
We are being starved by Israel. And then after the events unfold and you start seeing the death and destruction, only then you turn around and...
Retarded.
Protests are being seen across Israel.
Destiny, the Ben Giver video is a mistranslation of Palestinian prisoners from Nukbas, aka Hamas's elite commando units who committed October 7th. Ben Giver is a genocidal, communist, terrorist maniac, though. Oh, okay, maybe.
Respect, and I know
What
they're
is
going
this?
to kill me. And my sister has heard me say this. I feel like they're sheep.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No, they won't
Yeah. I need a Riz voice Hasan button.
get away from the herd, and if they do, they get kind of swatted at or
Yeah.
called into the office.
Yeah.
And Dad says, "Stop around and do it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he throws some T-shirts and signs it or some swag to them.
Yeah.
But it is this like kind of going with the herd. That's even when they're like, "Oh, this is awful." I mean, I don't know. Epstein's really thrown a curveball.
Yeah.
That's been interesting to watch.
Yeah, that has been interesting to watch. The thing I wanted
Crazy,
to talk about, that's something that we're going to get to. That obviously also Israel is another issue that I definitely want to talk about. But one of the things that I have seen is that there is this mechanism of whipping votes and making sure that you don't even have to extract concessions that the Republicans utilize effectively. Do you feel like the Democrats have failed to do so and command in the same way when they are in charge? Because one of the things that was very frustrating for me watching Joe Biden from afar, even before his unlimited genocide policy, was the very fact that
Did he just say unlimited genocide?
watching Joe Biden from afar, even before his unlimited genocide policy, was the very fact that there were constantly like a revolving turnstile villain structure within the Democratic Party that would consistently spoil bills and would present themselves as opposition to the Democratic Party's agenda, things that they ran on, which was, again, like you said, not even pushing the needle as far as it needed to be pushed. And I think we all know. I mean, you don't have to name names, but you can just wink at the camera. Maggie Hasan, Joe Manchin. There's a bunch. There's a bunch of people. Kirsten Sinema was another one. There's a lot of like centrist Democrats. We don't have that. Doesn't exist within the Republican Party to the same degree. You have the Thomas Masseys. You have one or two people.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, excuse me? Do you remember the Freedom Caucus? What? You remember the whole Tea Party fiasco? What are you talking about? This doesn't exist. Now it doesn't under Trump, the actual cult leader. As of recently, it doesn't, but...
Who just had like one issue.
But yeah, there are some, but again, they all fall in line afterwards.
Why is the Democrat?
But they also can have a few defectors, your Rand Pauls and your Masses or whatever, because they also have majorities, comfortable majorities that they can float a couple defectors sometimes.
Party unable to whip these votes.
I mean, I think it comes down to the fact that there are people like me and others that don't take corporate PAC money and we don't follow the herd. We just can't. We just don't. I mean, I'm not.
I wasn't considering you a spoiler. I was considering like the centrist Democrats who are not actually considered a spoiler at all, but they are the ones who spoiled a lot of Biden's legislative agenda.
They never get attacked. It's bizarre. I went and had
Manchin never got attacked by what?
press conferences in front of the White House because, President Biden produced more fossil fuels than any president prior. And it was a frustrating issue of the fact that, Earth is burning. We got to move with urgency on the climate crisis. And here we go. Democratic elected president is out there producing and saying, oh, we're doing all these great things in this bill. But you're producing more fossil fuels than any president in the history of our country. And I mean, licensing increases and everything. But Hasan, I can tell you that they sometimes have these names for members who pick up certain seats or are in states that might tend to be, 50-50, or they end up protecting them. They end up being about them because they're all about, and it's the best saying I've heard, was a person that was fighting for Voting Rights Act. She was advocating for my office. She says, Democrats are really good about keeping power and trying to keep power, but not using power.
Yeah.
And these folks that are centered, they don't know where they stand. It depends on which town hall, what they say to different groups. It's like they completely, but I saw people in very, very Republicanish districts stand for Green New Deal, like Katie Porter, and still win. She stood for Medicare for All and still won. And her district was very, very, leaning, I would say leaning Republican, had a lot of Republican base. But people knew where she stood. She was anti-corporate greed. She was for fixing our healthcare. She was pushing back against price gouging. With these folks, Hasan, I can tell you, as soon as they walk in the room, I go, here it is. They don't give a shit about the Democratic base. They are talking only to Republicans in their district. And that has always been, I think, very much a hindrance in moving some of the stuff, important things, especially what DSA's.
What is Katie Porter's? Was that California district super Republican? So in 2018, she won. Why can I not read? Dude, some of the people that run Ballotpedia, damn man, I feel so bad because I'm not trying to shit on the site. I suck at reading this website. Okay. These are for the California's 45th Congressional District for Congress. Okay. So in 2024, this guy, blue guy won barely, but he won. In 2022, Republican did win bigly, 5.1. In 2020, Katie won bigly. 6-7 point win. In 2018, Katie won bigly. In 2016, Republican won bigly by 15 points, 16 points. Why does it look different? Why is the formatting different? Primary. Okay, this is the primary election and then the general election. Okay. Oh, so you have to go before. I wonder what happened. I wonder what the big change was on.
Supports for working families. I mean, some of them were so angry that the UAW went on strike all three companies. They were like, why is he going all three companies? It's a terrible idea. And I was like, because the companies...
Well, they're using their leverage. Wow.
I know. Well, the workers
surprising.
were literally suffering. I mean, the whole bankruptcy and us bailing the auto industry out, and they sacrificed so much. And when they were making record profits, they said, fuck off. We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And it took them striking all three big, the big three going on strike together at the same time. And, colleagues, I don't think he should do that. I said, look at his members. That's why they elected, Sean and elected kind of a new leadership, is that they wanted...
People are saying they were redistricted in 2020, but the Katie Porter lady won before 2020, right? So that wouldn't have been the reason why.
Change right away. They felt like they were being shafted. And I couldn't believe the so-called, I know you call them centrists. I mean, the Republican, folks within the Democratic caucus that were trying to push back against that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, let the workers do what they need to do. Don't be a barrier.
Absolutely.
Back off, let them do it. They're your
Absolutely.
residents. They want to
Absolutely.
fucking strike. Let them strike. Do not get in the way. If you want to work for the big three, then go join their fucking board. Don't join Congress.
Well, they're going to do that after, probably.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
because that's usually what happens, right? Like
It's depressing when you talk to
they
Mike.
just quit, and then they're like, when they're done at the young age of 87, they'll go and get a cushy no-show job
That's
where
really
they
sad.
rake in $400,000 a year at least, if their immediate family members already haven't been hired by these companies. The way you've described this, though, I will say, has given me a little bit of confidence, because you make politicians seem like they're actually human beings. Because from the outside, I can tell you how we feel.
Yeah.
We look at them as like lizard people. We just don't that's just barely a human.
From the outside? What do you mean from... How are you an outsider, you retard? You have so much access. Why are you still an outsider? Take a minute to learn anything about your political system, maybe? Maybe? I don't know.
In a suit that is just a mouthpiece that could be replaced by a chatbot that just says, PR messages from Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. So,
But some of them actually hide they even get money from these folks.
Well, you make it seem...
People need to dig, because you'll see why they continue to vote for the defense budget that can't pass an audit, 7 audits in a row.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, you make it seem as though they're
That audit talking point is nonsense. But
malleable. You make it seem like we could persuade them if we go to their town halls and bother them a lot. But there has been one issue that I think people have been screaming about for good reason since October 7, 2023. And you're Palestinian. And obviously this is important to you for humanitarian reasons. It's also personal as well. And yet, in spite of the overwhelming amount of support for the Palestinians, it is unprecedented in American history.
Never seen that.
80 plus years of occupation, or 77, 78 years of occupation.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. But in spite of all of that, a lot of Democrats are still holding on to this notion, this false idea that this is a salvageable relationship.
Yes, yeah.
We're, of course, talking, for those of you at home, about Israel's genocide of the Palestinians in Gaza. And the latest numbers have shown that this is a 92 to 8% issue in the Democratic base. 92 to 8%. So any Democrat that still is not on Israel time is just unable to read the room.
What's 92-8? Of a completely abandoning our relationship with Israel? Probably not, but...
Or there's another reason for it. And I feel like when it comes to stuff like this...
Can you elaborate on the audit talking point? They changed the way that they were accounting for a lot of the federal departments for the way that they do their budgets. And once they changed that form of accounting, it was going to take the DoD like 20 years or whatever was the estimate, I think, or something, or like 10 years was the estimate to bring their accounting practices up to par. So it was expected that they wouldn't be able to pass the new auditing standard that they'd implemented. But the fact that they're failing the audits doesn't mean that the money is gone or disappeared completely. It's just that they haven't migrated all of their systems to the current auditing procedure. If you Google like Pentagon audit, knew what happened or whatever, you see there's a million stories about this, but nobody actually gives a It's like all the lies that circulate about the insurance companies are pulling money from anesthesiology, so patients are going to be awake during surgery talking point, when the reality was just the most highly compensated doctors in the entire country were fighting to keep the highest compensation rates possible from insurance companies that didn't ever want to give up on any of their pay for it.
A lot of politicians in the Western world don't recognize that this is going to have a much more dangerous consequence for maintaining liberal capitalist democracy if that is their imperative. Because a lot of people are realizing, oh, there is no democracy at all. It doesn't matter what our voices, it doesn't matter how loud we yell. There's no change coming.
Like, because it's diluting the voice. A very loud bullhorn right now in each district, Republican, Democrat, whatever. They are saying arms embargo. They are saying, pushing back and saying, stop it. We don't want you to fund this.
You know what? You know what would be, here's some free advice, but it's not advice because they don't actually give a fuck about political power. If leftists really wanted to gain power in the United States and you think your messages are so goddamn popular that they would apply to literally anyone, why don't you, instead of going to these plus 30 huge blue districts and trying to primary the fuck out of our actual politicians that want to do work, why don't you go to a fucking Republican district that's like plus 5 red and go and show us how popular your messages are and go and get U.S. congressional seats won in those districts. Go do it. You won't have to compete with the Dems, so you won't have to worry about the DNC backstabbing you or the corporate media. Just go fight against in the Republican districts that are already considered, foregone by the DNC. And go win votes there. Show us you can do it. And then when you get those people in Congress, whoa, you have so much power. If you're winning seats in like plus 3, plus 4, plus 5 and over red districts, and now you've got members in Congress, ooh, that's a powerful caucus that you can form. You can start to pull a ton of concessions from the Democratic Party. Get
the fuck away from Netanyahu. He's a genocidal maniac, war criminal. Why are we continuing to support this? Why, and again, even among the Republican Party establishment, you're seeing that move, right? But again, whatever their reasoning is, I can tell you, it's not just about the fund, the money from the pro-genocide, kill them all organizations. That's what I call them. Yeah. Those folks may be donating, and I know that it's a tremendous amount of money sometimes to candidates. But it's also some of my colleagues that I would consider progressive for Palestine. Oh, yeah. These are folks that are great on a number of issues. They're going to go out there and say, hey, UAE, what are you doing in Sudan? Yeah. What are you doing? Stop it, right? Or, whatever it is that they're out there speaking up about what's going on in Congo. But when it comes to Palestine and the Palestinian people, because there's an intimidation and bullying that happens. And it is that they're out there speaking up about what's going on in Congo. But when it comes to Palestine and the Palestinian people, because there's an intimidation and bullying that happens. And just so folks know, like one of the second votes of this new Congress was to sanction the International Criminal Court for going after Netanyahu for the war crimes, for using, starvation as a weapon of war, for bombing hospitals and schools and communities. And it was the second vote of Congress. Second.
Nancy Pelosi once said, even if Congress fell apart, they would still get back up the next day and fund Israel. Like, even if Congress was destroyed, there would still be money for Israel. It was one of those, I don't know, I think it was like a JNA conference or something. A million of those things happen a year.
Well, I could tell you, so right after that, some of the new members, which I was really proud of them, they voted not to sanction the ICC. Yeah. Within a week, there was a text message to their Democratic base in their districts, because many of them were in what they call safe Democratic seats. Mm-hmm. They sent a text message, tell your Congress member, why do they expose our U.S. soldiers to a foreign court, and just wham it, call your member of Congress. And again, then sign, hey, we're the pro-genocide, we want to kill all Palestinians groups. Yeah. They came off, again, using our U.S. military. This was to uphold international laws and international human rights laws. But they intimidate and bully. These are members that do not get money from the pro-genocide groups. Yeah. They don't. So you can look it up. They don't take money.
Didn't we already see this clip yesterday?
The Dems also funded this operation that seemingly has decided to go with an active sex pest.
Yeah, we watched. Let's show you. It's unhinged. What is this?
Far away in the podcast with you, Destiny and Hasan. Destiny said he'd go on. As I said, I said I would too. So there's just one guy left. Shit. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But I wouldn't bet on it. I certainly say that. I would not bet on it. But we'll see what happens. It really depends. Anyway, I'll go ahead and I'll look at it. 2v1? Well, I don't know about that. It depends. And so, yeah, it's always about me. Well, I'll watch this. We'll see what's going on. You see Mike from PA's back on Twitch? I did see that. I'm curious to see what he's going to do when he comes back on stream. Hopefully he can just be normal.
Imaginable cruelty of Israel. And there were people like the sex pest that were watching, like the sex pestity that we're watching here. That
Dude. Okay.